I've already talked about the physical and digital controversy, whatever. But I've been thinking more and more about it, and I think that if there's anything in this space that's going to take me away from video games, it will be an all digital solution. I know that people have been talking at length about like the whole, it's inevitable. And I've been part of that. I'm like, you know what, maybe we're complaining about it too much. It's inevitable. You shouldn't get all mad. But I've been doing more thinking about it, and I don't like the principle of it all. Just not being able to own anything. And seeing as how there's a lot of rumors. Now, rumors are rumors. They're not like real. The only real rumor out there is the album, which I have, by Fleetwood Mac, called Rumors. Let me show you real quick. You know, this guy right here. This is the only rumors that you should allow into your home. This is a priceless listen. It's not really priceless. It's like $20. Actually, you know what, Hybrid Theory? I'm gonna switch to Rumors. I'm sorry. It's just a good album. It's the only rumors you should listen to. So we're not really gonna lean into the rumors, and more just talking the principle of the thing. See, over the past week, I have had quite a crazy one. I've spent a tremendous amount of time with my kids because my wife was on a business trip. We talked about that in the last cup. It was brutal. And she came home and was like, yo, thank you. You're the best. You can take the weekend off and, do whatever you want to do. Go hang out with friends or whatever. Well, turns out when you're a dad, hanging out with friends is really tough, especially when all of your other friends are dads, because they don't have time to hang out. And so my other friends that I usually hang out with are either out of town on business or getting engaged. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to spend some time playing video games. And that's exactly what I did. I spent like 3-4 hours in a row playing some Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it was incredible. Popped the disc in, and I was good to go because I owned that game. Now, I know that not PlayStation is not void of this issue. The digital thing is a big deal, but still, I do have the disc. Is it convenient to have all digital? Oh, heck yeah, man. I tell you, being able to just pop in or select a game and play it, easy peasy, but I have the option, right? I have a collector's edition of Final Fantasy VII. I have a collector's edition of Final Fantasy 16 on pre-order, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, 2-disc collector's edition. It's just, there's an ownership that exists there. And I'm not really what I would consider a collector, even though I just named 3 collector's editions. So I don't go out of my way to find all collector's editions, but if I'm gonna buy a physical game in a franchise that I love, it's gonna probably be a collector's version if that's available, because I want to have that memory there. I want to commemorate that experience, so to speak. And so when I think more and more about this all digital future, I think I can definitively say this, and I'm willing to, and part of it is because I heard this on a podcast, someone saying this, and I'm like, you know what? I believe this to be true as well. Any console, right? If it's Xbox, Nintendo even as much as I love Nintendo, PlayStation, that decides that they're gonna go 100% digital and no longer offer any sort of physical gaming at all, I'm going to no longer purchase games for that console. I have spent the past couple of weeks getting rid of a lot of the digital services that I already subscribed to, anywhere from multiple music services to streaming services for TV or video on demand, or even gaming services. And I have saved now $132 a month. It's not huge. It's not, rent money by any stretch, but still, $132 a month of non-ownership. The very reason why I've switched from certain graphic designing industry standard programs, Photoshop, Lightroom, to Pixelmator Pro, and pick the different one, Pixel something, because I could buy the software. I use Final Cut Pro as my editor for my videos because I purchased that software. Is it a digital purchase? Yes. Is it tied to an account? Yes. It's not a hard disk. I understand that. But it's the principle of ownership. I do indeed own that very license for that software. And I understand that it's not a perfect example because we're talking about software when it comes to video games and owning it. But the idea of subscription-based gaming and subscription services for me has become tiresome. It's the very reason why I think that content as a whole is ceasing to exist well. We see games that are released half-baked with the exception of, or the expectation that they're going to complete it because it is in a service. We see stuff that comes to market and it's just doesn't look good. It needs updates. It's falling apart because it's a games as a service. We stuff Call of Duty with the Warzone 3. People can't get their loadouts. They're dying. It's a mess, complete mess. Different aspects of gaming is being diluted, much like if I was to dilute this cup of coffee with water to make it more palatable, right? Right now, it's very hot. I don't get to drink it right now because it's not ready. But if I wanted to, I could take my water and dilute this flavor to make it immediately consumable and to, yes, drink it all very, very fast. And then I'll sit there, look at this cup of coffee and be like, it wasn't that great to begin with, or it was great, but it needed more time, but I was too impatient, so I diluted it to get it down, and now I no longer have it, and it wasn't even that enjoyable to consume because the very thing that it could have been, I was too impatient to wait for. And I feel like that's what a lot of these subscription services are doing to games. They're creating this experience that's here, you can have it right now, we will give it to you, all of it. Or, you know, it will give you the base and then you can spend $20 to buy DLC, but you don't own the actual game. Starfield, for instance. Starfield is a Game Pass game. You can spend money to play it on Game Pass. If you wanted a day one access or additional premium content, you could have spent an additional $20 or early access to basically buy yourself some additional stuff into the game, but you don't own the game. It's like the equivalent of getting into an Uber car and then paying them $20 so you can wear a different jacket in their car, and then you leave, but you have to leave the jacket. Except if you sit in that car again, by chance, you'll be able to wear that jacket again, but you don't get to take that jacket with you anywhere you go. Dude, I am on an analogy roll today, right? I don't know who I'm looking at. Me during Christmas season? Peach saying, what's up? Got a game coming out. Yoshi, who's like, bro, you got to get on my island and get after it. My daughter's putting stuff everywhere. I got a piranha plant and a bomb next to one of my, is this my D8? My D&D D8, which is metal, by the way. Just dented my table. Great. I just don't see it. I don't see it. In the future of gaming being slammed into this all digital subscription-based model is so bad for the consumer. It is worse for the consumer than PlayStation's pricing structure when it comes to their PS4 to PS5 updates. It's worse for the consumer than Nintendo's extreme litigation when it comes to streaming their video games and giving Nintendo free publicity for modding out games that you've purchased 19 times over. It's worse than that kind of behavior. And an all-digital console, and I know, I get it, right? PC gamers aren't complaining about it. PC gaming is different. There is a difference in PC gaming than console gaming. There is an element of ownership in some ways, but also there's an understanding in that world that style of gaming, that hard copy style of gaming, just isn't the way that you interact with PC gaming. PC gaming as a whole is digital software based. They've done away with CD drives, they've done away with that stuff. But this physical interaction that we have with our games is very different on the console front. I think that this more of an analog experience, especially when you're playing something like Nintendo, you have the cartridges, not discs, but cartridges themselves, which can prove to be a problem in some ways when it comes to the speed of the game, but honestly, what I'm looking at when it comes to Nintendo is a very tactile experience. I mean, for goodness sakes, it's the very reason why we have so many different controllers for that system. The Nintendo itself, as a whole, is all about that tactile, that analog experience, and the game itself plays the same digitally and on a cartridge. And in some ways, you might have a better gaming experience if it was digital because it can run faster or whatever it may be, but still, the fact that you have a physical version of the very game itself. I mean, I purchased a specific game for my Nintendo Switch, even though it would have been fine on any other console. In fact, it might have run better on other consoles, but I wanted the cartridge here. This is the Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 Master Collection, which has 3 of the core games and then some bonus digital downloads as well. This was an awesome purchase. Could I have gotten it for the PlayStation 5? Sure. Could I have gotten it for the Xbox Series S? Yeah. Or Series X for that matter? Yeah. But I got it for the Nintendo Switch because there's something about the interaction with a cartridge. Now, I'm not saying that cartridges are necessarily better than discs, although I will say that to me, I think that cartridge is better than disc. This is my Majora's Mask cartridge. I love the cartridge feel. I mean, GameCube was probably one of the greatest, one of the greatest Nintendo consoles out there. Second to N64, and that was a disc, a mini disc, a silly disc, but a disc nonetheless. The Wii and the Wii U. And I know that the Wii was game-changing, quite literally, with its motion controls and stuff like that. And yet again, another console that ushered in this idea of motion when it comes to playing video games. Then we see PlayStation and Xbox get involved with the Kinect, and then the PlayStation, I don't remember what they, looked at, but they wanted a piece of the pie because there was a proven concept. I really think, I know the Steam Deck's an all digital machine. I get it. I have a Steam Deck. I'm reluctant to purchase games on my Steam Deck, but I do find myself leaning more towards purchasing my digital games on Steam because it's more of a reliable source, in my opinion. I see a future for Xbox that, for me, I want to have less and less to do with. And that's not because there's anything bad about Xbox, but if Xbox was to go all digital and be like, we're done with this, it's better for the consumer. No, it's not better for the consumer. It's maybe more convenient for the gamer, but not better for the consumer. I'm out, dude. I'm out. If Nintendo was to follow suit, which I think out of the 3 major companies, console companies, Nintendo's the least likely to do that, personally. And the reason why I say that is because they have far too much to lose. Nintendo is a company where you have multiple Switches in a household, and sharing games between parent and child is huge when it comes to that kind of thing. I share my games with my child all the time because she's my child and she wants to play Super Mario Wonder. Yeah, get after it. Yoshi's Crafted World. Have a ball. And one day she'll want to play Zelda or something like that. I want to be able to give that to her. I'm not going to purchase multiple copies of a game digitally or put my profile on there and do that profile hop. It's just not the way that gaming's supposed to be. Gaming as a whole type of interaction, especially console gaming, right? PC gaming, I'm removing myself from that conversation because I am admittedly ignorant when it comes to PC gaming. And though it's something I want to learn more about, financially and time-wise, I don't have that this year. So 2024 is the year of Nintendo, if we're being honest. But when it comes to gaming as a whole, the interaction with each other is so important. It's my whole brand. Can we just be honest, guys? Play is my whole brand here. It's playing games with each other, finding a community, building a community of people who want to play games with each other. Now, do you have to play physical to play with each other? No. But going back to the family thing, my wife wants to play a certain game that I own. We have it. Purchasing games 5 times over is just not realistic. And I know that very subject of sharing games within your household, cartridge-wise, Nintendo could make more money if they split the, if they locked it in and was like, no, you can't digitally share. You have to actually only share with your, you can only share physically, and we don't even allow physical anymore. If a company was to do away with physical gaming because of that kind of behavior from the end user, the consumer, I think that decision is pretty bummer, if I'm being honest. I have the most confidence that Nintendo is going to not do it, and that's simply because of their player base, and as well as the very example I gave. That type of interaction with each other is so huge. Popping a cart into another machine, giving it to a kid. It's just such a foundational part about playing games and video games in a family household. I don't know about you, but the thought of buying Super Mario Wonder 3 times over for a 3-year-old, for myself, and then for my wife, when I'm the only one who's gonna play it to completion, sounds ridiculous. Completely and utterly ridiculous. Now, purchasing games like Mario Kart digitally because you want it on the go all the time, that sounds a little bit more reasonable in some ways, but even now I regret doing it. I wish I had have a physical cartridge for that. My push for all physical went from a personal preference because I feel like it was something that I wanted to interact with to more now of a call to arms from my gamers out there that want to, participate in this more and more. If we lose physical gaming, we as a consumer lose any last bit of control that we may have over our digital purchases and physical purchases. And the reason why I say digital and physical is because if we are forced to go all digital, then we have no more deciding power when it comes to how we want to play our games and where we want to play them. Yes, Xbox is talking about being able to play your games anywhere, anytime, on any device. And the only way they could do that is if they digitize all of gaming completely for themselves. And while I think that that is a convenient thing to do, I still believe it to be, in most cases, not all, in most cases, still pretty niche. Because once there's no longer a digital or physical market out there, then we are in a spot where we no longer get to really have a say in anything. And it seems that we don't really have a say in anything anyway. And in some ways, I feel like we don't. But being able to tangibly grab a specific thing, even though this very game I'm holding, Final Fantasy 16, in order for me to play this game, I have to be connected to the internet, fully install this game off this disc, and then also update it using the internet. And then when I want to play this game, even though it's installed on my machine, I still have to insert the disc. The convenience is gone, but being able to hold this and put it into my machine, regardless of how pointless it may seem at times, is still something that gives us just a little bit of ownership when it comes to this very art. We saw music take a turn, a decade ago, maybe 15 years at this point. It's been a while. We saw this big push for streaming music. And we've seen this huge change to streaming music where you literally own absolutely nothing and you spend gobs of money to be able to experience something that you don't own. You have machines to play games that you don't actually own. You have speakers to play music that you don't actually own. And you have TVs to watch movies that you don't actually own. It's not good. And I think that maybe we look at it from a different perspective. Instead of diving into these in abundance, and let's bring it back to gaming because this goes in all categories, but I'm going to use gaming as the final stopping point here. Instead of allowing for ourselves to check the box that gives us that dopamine hit of I can have access to so much, we make decisions instead. Pretty crazy, right? Instead of being able to scroll through an endless library of digital games that we had no choice of whether or not it existed to us, such as a Game Pass library, a PlayStation Plus library, or even, music or what have you. And I omit Nintendo because Nintendo gives us nothing other than their retro titles that we cannot purchase otherwise. So I am omitting that intentionally. But instead, we built our libraries. We built our backlogs ourselves on games that we indeed want to play, right? I understand that PlayStation Plus Premium, as well as, Games with Gold has kind of gone away, I think. But PlayStation Plus, one of the last dying one, that gives away games that you can play. Great games. But you weren't waiting for that game. And Now I can play Battlefield 2048. Wasn't going to play it. I've played it for maybe an hour. Not going to play it. But guess what? It is now a part of my almost 200 game backlog of games, of which I've paid for not a lot, probably 40 of them. Sales, the same thing. What if our libraries were built by us instead? I think that really would change the way that we interact with our games, and in doing so would deepen the connection we have with the actual experience, so much so that we'd be able to share our experiences, complete experiences, with other people who have the exact same experience from a different perspective. I think that'd be quite special. I don't think that, as a whole, subscription services are wrong, but I think at this point in the digital age, and the push for subscription services, as well as an all digital future where mindless spending is really the way that you go about it, that's what digital really allows for, is mindless spending. Because you can just scroll through and be like, oh, it's $6, I'm gonna buy it, versus having to consciously go somewhere and make a purchase. Yes, less and less time in the day. Sure, we don't have the access to physical media as much as we used to because a lot of stores are stopping to sell physical media. GameStop still exists, but you might not have a GameStop near you. But still, if I may, just for a moment, maybe the art of searching can also increase the experience itself. These are all more philosophical questions rather than anything else, but it really comes down to one extremely important word, and that's intention. And I think by removing the physical media from the art, we are then removing intention from the experience. And I think that, in and of itself, is really the problem that we are going to have to encounter. That is not a problem that we even need to consider if we completely destroy all forms of physical media when it comes to video games moving forward. I have full faith that Nintendo's not good at going down this road. Xbox is going to lead the charge, PlayStation will follow suit, and Nintendo will hold out for as long as possible. Probably, and this could just be my heart speaking, never doing it, but they may. And I would have to say goodbye because I can't support that. All right, that's it for me today. That was a delicious cup of coffee. As always, guys, if you want to learn more about the coffee, let me know in the comments below. If you don't let me know in the comments below. I will see you guys in a stream at some point. But for now, happy gaming.